Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the second part of rating all of the Manhwa I have read in 2024. Yes. Okay, so let us start. Hello, YouTube. Hello, hello. Let us start with the first one. I killed the main player. Honestly, this manhwa, like the story itself and everything about it is really good, but one part about it that actually kind of pissed me off is the part where they made the guy he kills like the main player. They made him. I just don't like it how in a lot of manhwa they make like a gay character the evil character and like a psychopath or crazy for him just being gay. Like I don't get it. It was weird. But other than that, the story itself is actually very fun to read, very nice to go for. Main character is not exactly the OP main character, but he's a strong. I mean, he's an OP main character eventually, but at first he's not really that strong, and he gets stronger as time goes on, and that's actually very fun to see. It's also very fun to see that it isn't just super overpowered. He actually uses that like can use all of the things he learned in his past life in his current life without any problem, because he actually needs to remember the things he actually uses, which makes it very nice to read. But overall, would I put it? Mm, it's not in my absolute favorite. It's a fun manhwa, not a really insane manhwa. It's also not really S rank worthy, because if I talk, because like I said in the previous episode, all of my S rank worthy ones are like actually amazing manhwas, chef's kiss manhwas. A rank, honestly, I don't even like it enough to put it in A rank. I think it's around the same level as what I enjoy, as how I enjoyed the Blinker manhwa. So I'll put it here. Big is not bad, it's just that there are three tiers above, which are manhwas I'm constantly waiting for new chapters for, or just very much enjoyed. Maybe some of them will move ranks, it very much depends on how this video will go on. Yeah, okay. The Voodooist Raffle Return. Or the FFF Class Witch Doctor or something, and I think that was his other name. Its other name. This was the most I manhwa I've read. Just like I feel like just like Boundless Necromancer, I'm pretty sure that's the name of this one. It starts very decent. It starts very reminiscent of like Solo Leveling or other manhwa you probably read before if you have been in this community for a bit. And then it like tries to take its own take and it just not delivered. It just did not deliver on its own take. It was very mediocre in its own right. So I feel like it's it's not bad. It's not an F funk. It's just not a manhwa I can recommend. It's It's like if you want brainless something, even then there are better brainless ones. I'm not Regresso. This one, honestly, I only read the first three chapters and dropped it because I just didn't enjoy it. It just okay. I mean, I guess it's just okay, manhwa. There's nothing crazy. Like I tried it, I didn't enjoy it that much. I feel like it's meh. It's honestly it might be our first F rank. Okay, moving on to this one. This one, we villains don't wanna be stepping stone. Actually, it was from what I remember reading this, it was actually surprisingly okay. Like I expected it to be the average manhwa, which is just the average system manhwa, where it's just like, oh, I have an overpowered system, I'm going to just be stupidly overpowered. But he actually does lose against like the main character, and shit, bet shit does happen to him. But it was still very it's at most. It's like it's at the lowest B. I remember really enjoying it when I first read it, but I remember just like any of the other ones in C, it starts good and gets kinda meh as time goes on, but it's not bad. It's not really bad. Still like it. Still liked it when I did read it. Uh, Jack being invincible. Oh, I'm pretty sure the Marcus youngest son. Giga Jack. Yes, that's the exact way to put the credits. This is the most brain-rotted, brainless manhwa you can read. I mean, not brain-rot really. This is the most brainless manhwa you can read. I'll be completely honest, it's a guilty pleasure, man. It's so fun to read. It's just funny to see how stupidly overpowered the main character is. And it's told to you from the fucking start. There's not even one point in this story where you can actually think for a second, oh, the main character is weak. That's the entire point of the story. Is strong, is sassy, is is the sus queen. Bro is just on another level of a main character. Is one of my favorite main characters because it's just so much, it's so enjoyable to read. Honestly, if I were to really give it a rank, not like as based of like what's the story, how the story is and all of that, I would probably put it like a B. But it's my own tier list, and it's also very much based on how much I enjoy the story, and yeah, I too like my guilty pleasures from time to time. Not gonna lie. And this is definitely a guilty pleasure. It's so funny. I generally recommend reading it just as a fun one. Like, don't expect it to be good. It's just really fun. Okay. Log in 10k years into the future, 10,000 years in the future. Another Murim style manhwa, though it's taking place in a more modern kind of world for a Murim manhwa, or a manhwa more accurately. Basically, our protagonist can, every time he goes to sleep, he can sort of like connect into a not exactly a system, that's also not exactly the way I put it. I guess it's sort of like a system that was created 10,000 years into the future. And of course, because he's our main protagonist, he was the chosen one from that system. So using the cultivation techniques and everything based in that system, which let me be very accurate about this, most of this stuff not open to him from the get-go. He needs to actually progress and improve himself for it to be open for him. But yet again, like any other manhwa, cause he uses higher level cultivation techniques, obviously is going to be the strongest in his own cultivation level and probably be able to fight people who are like 3 cultivation levels above him, cause main protag in a manhwa, obviously. But it's in my opinion done very well. It shows you the sides of like the alchemy in it. It shows you the sides of like the actual fights, which are also pretty good. Shows you a short period. Okay, there's a thing in manhwa and mangas that they really love implementing school in some way. So it shows you like that in being part of the Seventh Academy, which obviously it's going to be the weakest academy. But of course, just like any manhwa or manhwa, the weakest academy somehow have wildcards who are ridiculously powerful as well. Average manhwa point. Honestly, top of B tier. It's fun. It's very fun to read. Like, if you want something pretty painless, like a your average martial arts brainless manhwa, this is in my opinion one of the better ones. Ah, the Devil's Butler. Honestly, the only part that annoys me about this manhwa, which will otherwise be honestly probably the best martial arts related manhwa I've read, is purely the RM aspect of it. Because the RM aspect is so dumb. I mean, don't get me wrong, there is technically no real RM in it from what I read. Because like the main character eventually only ends up with one girl, from what I know at least. At least as far as I read. Maybe later on in the novel he ends up with all of the girls, but for all I know he only ends up with one girl. But all of the like, he's like supposed to be like the butler or the main, like the butler of the family is part of is basically used to be the magic emperor, like the devil emperor, the strongest emperor, the strongest emperor in that realm. It was part of, And then he found a book, a cultivation book that had a lot of very old but strong cultivation techniques. And because of that, he was betrayed, killed, reborn into the body of a butler of a third rank family in a very low realm where most people are very weak. And you basically slowly see him make that family that is bound to because of the body he ended up in, make that family from being basically shit family to actually being a gigashad family, a strong family, and you just keep on seeing him improve. And it's actually fun because it's one of the first manhwas I've read where the main character is genuinely playing on the line between being a villain and a good person so many times. Because like on one hand he has no problems killing people like they're fucking bugs. Hell no. In one of the chapters, and like 300 chapters in, you see him kill someone in the most notorious way possible. But then you also see him save an entire house just because he loves the like owner of that house. So like it very much plays on the lines between is good bad. It's basically an anti-hero. It's not a hero. It's not exactly a villain. He's an anti-hero. That's the best way to describe him. For manhwa, that's actually peak. That's actually peak martial arts manhwa. Margave's big world son was the emperor. Basically, your average protag used to be an emperor in his past life. He was reborn, I think, either 100 years back or 100 years afterwards, after being betrayed by his uncle or something like that. And now he's basically born as like the bastard son of a Margraves, of someone with a Margrave in the same kingdom, and it basically tries to like improve himself and eventually becomes the Margrave himself and all of that. It's an okay story. It's nothing special, honestly. I dropped it, but it was good while I read it. It's nothing special though. This how it felt in like 40, 50 chapters was nothing special. It was aight. Marshall God Ashura. Another honestly, really good one. Can't really complain too much. From what I remember, it starts very slow, but it slows while actually improving slowly but surely. It's a very average. It's a basically your average martial arts manhwa plot, but done in its own unique way, in a way that is actually very enjoyable to read. That's the best way I can describe it. I don't really want to get too much into it. It also has RM if you like that, but I personally don't really love RM as much. But I did love it when I read it. Like I only dropped it because they stopped translating into English, so I couldn't really find a place where they translate into English, so I just gave up on it. Cause I ain't learning to in Mandarin just for the sake of one manhwa. Okay. Marshall Pick. Now, this is a manhwa that its name describes it very well until you reach the last arc. Every single arc in Marshall Pick was genuinely probably martial arts manhwa done so good. It was done so well. It's like brainless, your average brainless martial art manhwa, but it's done so well, so well for so fucking long. And then you reach chapter like 2.7k. Yes, this shit has 3.5 or 3.6k chapters. And you actually start entering like the last new bigger universe or like the last fucking arc and the beginning of the last arc or like the arc before that. And then they started releasing the chapters in a way that basically it felt like they're only adapting like a quarter of a novel chapter per manhwa chapter, and it started feeling very repetitive, very slow. And that's really sad because honestly, one of the main villains, or at least for a really long while, it was a villain in the last arc, is probably the best villain we ever had in this manhwa, because he's actually challenging. The main character can't do shit. Like there's literal parts of the arc where the main character can't do shit against him. Not because the main villain is that strong, it's because the main villain is that smart. And that was so much fun to read. But I don't know what happened. They just ruined it as it went on. The last arc just ruined it. Like beforehand, I probably would have even given it air. Maybe even no, probably not absolute favorite, but probably would have given it air. But because of the last arc, it's air. It's in A rank. It's the definition of, do you want to read something for a really long while? Read this. There's a lot of chapters. It is pretty good. It's very brainless at times. It has actually a plot though, which was very fun to read. And yeah. Okay, again, average martial arts manhwa, again, done pretty good, but sadly, at a certain point, I'm guessing I didn't gather as much love as other martial arts manhwa or something, cause the B tier translation team took over and that just felt like they basically used Google used a very bad version of Google Translate, cause reading this just killed me. The English just became so ass. It's like here. It's in a bit here. It's okay, but it's sad. Moem login. I'll put it here to start with. Moem login is at times trying to be meta where it shouldn't be, which annoys me sometimes. But it's basically your average gate or ante manhwa, sorry, that decided to actually implement a manhwa take on it. Because you actually see the main character basically get a virtual reality capsule. It actually combined also the game aspect, I guess. A virtual reality capsule that when he gets into it, in a very dumb fashion by the way, because his friend just didn't stop snoring, so he tried to get into it to sleep properly that night. He gets transmitted, not exactly transmitted, but he gets into a game that in that game he needs to basically live as Jin of the Taiyun family. He needs to actually be able to Jin of the Taiyun, I don't know, Jin of the Taiyun family, and he needs to basically improve himself. He used to be Jin, like the character he basically plays as when in the game, used to be basically a bastard of his son. He used to be a horrible person, a playboy. He was known as the absolute shame of the family, despite being from a very prestigious family in that world. And you slowly see our main character gets stronger slowly but surely in that world, starts to like need to deal with the after effects of the previous character he's playing. He needs to deal with all of the shame that he garnered. He needs to deal with problems in the Jin family itself, in the Shaanxi province which is from, and sometimes you actually also see him in the real world, which is something that I feel like that isn't done enough in that manhwa. But you do see him sometimes in the real world, and you see how much stronger he actually became due to that game. He became from a very weak F-class hunter with one ability that could be comparable to D rank, but one problem, he could only use that ability once, and afterwards he was basically knackered. He couldn't do shit afterwards. Which obviously meant he was still an F rank. But due to all of the things he actually learns in the Murim world, he basically managed to improve his rank. At first he goes from being an F rank to a C rank. And while being a C rank, he gets into this guild, which one of his old buddies gets him in. Not exactly buddies, more accurate to say a person that he used to go into dungeons with from time to time, but he's a very veteran and good old man that helps him out and like gets him into that one dungeon run, and afterwards, after the dungeon, because he became the C rank and he was strong, that guild decides to invite him to the guild, and you slowly see the intricacies between him and the guildmaster, him and the guildmaster's butler. him and his family in that Murim world. It's a very solid A tier. It's honestly could go to S if it didn't have those times where it tried to be meta but did it horribly. It could have been an easy S, but I'm sorry. Sometimes you just shouldn't try to be meta. I'm sorry. My F rank high school life. Okay, this is the most self-indulgent manhwa I think I've read. Basically, secret, probably S tier class hunter acts as if he's an F class in his high school, and you just see him randomly beat people asses when like his school is being attacked and all of that bullshit. It's very self-indulgent manhwa. It's like the most C tier out of C tier. It's like, I don't say it's not a C tier, I don't say it's B. But it's the most self-enjoying manhwa you can read. It's not horrible, but it's not good. It's just self-indulgence. Okay, my S-class hunters, or how I like to call it, the S-class BL hunters, cause fuck off, that shit into the BL aspects of the story so hard between the blonde and the main, between the blonde S-rank and the main character, cause like, god damn man, what the fuck, don't get me wrong, it's not a healthy boys-love relationship, not in any sort of way, but it ends to the unhealthy side of it way too much. It's honestly, it's very fun to read over times. The story of it, like between him and like, I am very interested to see how it will continue. But honestly, in my opinion, it starts really good and gets kinda repetitive as time goes by, and you kinda start reading it more and more for like other aspects of it other than how well it started. But it's still good. I'll still give it like probably top of B tier. I'm very much waiting to see how it will continue. And I really hope it will be good. Alright, and the best aspect of it, by the way, which actually, you know what, gives it an A tier. Our main character fucking tames and raises monsters. Fuck off, those are not monsters, those are cute. This is a cute ass fox and bird. And a chick, more accurately. A small bird. And they are cute as fuck. And hell yeah. I love that. Absolutely love that. Okay. This. Ooh. How to use a returner or regressor instruction manual. Oh, how do I even start? First of all, let me start with this. Absolute favorite. Immaculate manual, like unironically. Let me give a small premise. Basically, main character and a lot of people get transmitted to a different world via answering a text that they were sent that asks them, do you want to participate in this test for a new game that is about to come out? And basically everyone who pressed yes gets transmitted into the tutorial of the game. But very quickly we realize, oh, this was no game. This is a completely different world. And in that world, there are superpowers that is way beyond your normal world. There aren't like S rank or shit like this, there's legendary stats, but excuse me for coughing. And basically the main character gets a unique ability. That ability is actually in itself isn't really that broken. The reason why that ability becomes broken is the fact that our main character, just like I said in some other manhwas we talked about today, is a smart person. He's not a strong character at all. For the longest time in the manhwa, is not only the weakest character in his party, is probably one of the weakest in the entire tutorial. Cause what his ability is, he can look into other players' status. And being able to do that, he finds out very quickly who is the regressor, Finds out about the regressor, finds out about character named Jangayan who has the potential to become the strongest magician. But the first character he actually finds, I can't remember now his name. He basically finds a person who is best, who like the best stats he could possibly have according to that ability, is basically B rank tankiness. Basically, he treats that person as a meat shield who helps him, though that's at least how they make you view it. They make you believe that the main character only treats him as a meat shield. Because as the story goes on, MC gets kinda attached. Basically, I don't want to spoil too much. Genuinely, just give it a read. This is so fucking good. You see the main character basically manipulates his way to the fucking top over and over again. There's literally a scene, a panel in this manhwa where he literally said, "Bullshit time, baby." I don't know if I'm adding the baby, probably added the baby, but he literally says, "Bullshitting time." Because he literally bullshits one of like the strongest people outside of the tutorial into being one of his sponsors. Cause boy is that fucking base and smart with his abilities. Boy is a perfect main character. He's such a good main character. Genuinely give it a read, man. It's so fucking good. It's my fucking accurate. Okay, Tribulations of Myriad Clans. This is another manhwa, but unlike your normal manhwa, this actually took a very interesting approach. Our main character, basically, since he was born or since he was a child, has been having a lot of very bad dreams, like very bad nightmares, where he dreams of basically all of the monster creatures in the world, and he never understands those dreams. But due to seeing those dreams non-stop, he starts doing something that is a thing that happens a lot in school, but due to the fact that he's not too talented in like actual martial arts, he decides that he wants to go on the maybe more, how to put it, not professor route, like not educator. He wants to be as educated as he can be about like the languages that the Myriad clans, which are like the monster clans, uses. But I'm saying monsters very loosely here, because I'm also counting this like angels, demons, and all of those things. So yeah, but basically he learns more and more languages, and obviously because it's a average manhwa protagonist, through learning those languages he starts to understand his dreams more and more. And what he eventually finds out is the reason why he dreams on those things is due to an item that his father found when he was very young and put next to him, probably just to show him like what he thought was just an image book, which obviously was way more than an image book, because that thing got assimilated into his son. And that thing basically allows him, the more he understands a certain myriad clan, certain monster clan, he can actually start using their abilities, whether it be the cultivation techniques, their cultivation attacks, or other powers they may have. And unlike most of them though, it doesn't start as strong as possible. He actually needs to use materials from those clans to be able to use those ability more proficiently. What I mean, for example, I think there's one of the clans he learns is the Tiger Eagle clan or something like that. And to be able to use those ability proficiently, he actually needs to absorb Tiger Eagle clan a very high ranked blood, which then allows him to improve his cultivation techniques from that clan. Basically, it can be somewhat yapping, like there's a lot of yapping in the manhwa itself, but in my opinion, I think that's one of the better manhwas I've read. And honestly, it genuinely deserves above Martial Galashua. It's more fun. It's also above Martial Pick in my opinion. It was very fun when I read it. Sadly, just like Martial Rebel, it got absolutely ruined, probably due to not enough interest, and the really bad translation team took over, and eventually it got cancelled cause probably not enough interest, which was very sad for me. because it was one of my favorites manhwas, and yeah, that's kind of sage. But it's still an A rank. Like, give like the first 300 chapters a go. It's really fun to read. It's really good. Honestly, give it even 10 chapters. In my opinion, it would be enough to get you hooked. Okay, I obtained a mythic item. This is the most I regressed, found an overpowered item I've ever seen. Because it's literally that. He basically died in his previous life being like helping, being like. Okay, so here's the thing. When he was younger, he decided to choose being like an attacker. Because when he was younger, being an attacker, unlike being a mage, was considered to be the stronger hunter form. It was considered to be like the hunter form that gets money, gets famous, gets everything. But as soon as he finished his school days, his academy days, and finally got into being an hunter, about half a year later, it completely flips on its head. Mages became the strongest hunters, because mages actually had time to develop and become stronger over that period of time, making so now mages are absolutely batshit strong, and all of the ones who chose to be attacker or martial arts users, like they call it, are basically mere meat shields in the newer dungeons. So basically, he goes into one of those dungeons in the future, and one of those dungeons, like after being like a martial arts user for like 3 years and going to the dungeons, he goes to one of those dungeons through a friend recommendation, and that's where he finds his death. That's where he dies, basically. He dies, he gets regressed, he goes to a different dungeon. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. He goes to a different dungeon. Oh, right. No. I'm sorry. No, it's. Yeah, okay, I was right. Now that he regressed, he goes to the first dungeon he ever went to, which was with that friend that recommended him later on. And that friend basically has an A rank magic ability. And very quickly he learns, oh, that person is and basically, our main protagonist finds a mythic item there because he saw a weird light that led him to that item. He found it, it immediately got assimilated into him, or maybe he wanted to save it to then sell it for money or something. But he then realized that he can't sell it because it's an item that you can't sell, so it gets assimilated with him. And he basically fights, gets the A rank ability because he finds out that that friend was no friend, and that friend was actually a mercenary that got hired to kill him. He fights that friend, gets his ability, because obviously he does, because that mythic item is called Odin's Eyes, which allows him to copy other people's abilities and item. There are certain restrictions, I can't really remember what are the restrictions, but we basically see him slowly get stronger and find out that the real reason why he chose to be a martial arts user was due to actually his dad manipulating him since he was a child. Cause we found out that his dad, his father, for the longest period of time, wasn't truly his father. It was actually one of Odin's crows, which if you don't know in mythology, one of Odin's crows were basically beings that were like Odin's servants. Because we very quickly find out that the Nordic gods are basically the enemies in this manhwa. And he's basically the main adversary, the person who is supposed to take them down, using Odin's eye and the abilities of being the main adversary, because of course, yes, Portag. Basically we find out that the father basically manipulated his brain to choosing, when he was younger, to choosing being a martial arts user, despite the fact that in reality he had 99 point something percent compatibility with being a magic user, which means that he was a potential to being the strongest magician to ever live. Fun, ain't it, that he got manipulated to that, but after he finds this out, he actually this time around in this life decides to be a mage, and of course he's very strong, and it's a very fun read. It's like the bottom of A tier, honestly. It's bottom of A tier. It's very fun, it's very good, it's very much enjoyable. It's very complicated to explain. It's good, but it's complicated. Ooh, Ooh la la. And here we are reaching yet another immaculate Esther. Mwah. Another chef's kiss. Nano fucking machine. Basically, Blood is the son of the demon lord in the demon clan. Not sure. The demon cult, sorry, right, that's the name. The demon cult is the son of the demon lord, and demon cult from the only one wife he had, which he genuinely loved. Which is why the demon lord is kinda trying to help him on the side, but it can't do it too directly, because otherwise it will be fighting all of the other clans that are part of the cult. And due to him being from that wife, basically, the other clans basically silently assassinate his mom, which is very sad, because of that, that son can no longer live in the main house, basically, and is basically being like thrown to a different house with one bodyguard, and it's basically starting with a team of assassins from one of the clans trying to assassinate him, but lucky main character is future child or something like that, I think that was the plot, goes back to the past when he was there and gives him the nano machine, which is basically a nanotechnology AI machine that can learn from other people and can analyze other people's martial arts and can help you as a practitioner that uses it basically adopt your body into those martial arts, meaning making the body, for example, way stronger by learning strong martial arts, though there is a limit to it. Then it can't do more than what the body can do at most at that age. For example, I'm pretty sure that when he was 14, because he was still like developing as a human being, because obviously at 14 years old you still didn't finish your growth spurt and everything, he couldn't actually copy a really strong martial art, because for using it he actually needed to copy a stronger body than he could ever use at that age, because it's impossible to get a body that strong at that age. So he had no choice but not to do that and basically train normally for a couple of years and eventually get strong as well. Honestly, I can't say a lot about it without spoiling too much. It's just so good. Nano Machine basically helps him to eventually get revenge on those other clans, get stronger, win the thing, and eventually probably become the Heavenly Demon Lord or whatever. It's basically a journey of a kid that wants to get revenge for the death of his mother, and that hates his dad for not helping him more. It goes from being a journey from that to actually having a very intricate and complicated, but in a good way, story that makes it so much fun. Yeah, in the later chapters, Nano isn't really used as much anymore. Or more accurately to say, Nano moves from being like the main thing that helps him with like actually developing and getting strong in martial arts to basically being the thing that assists him in like techniques. For example, there's a technique where like normally a person can only like use two swords at the same time. With that technique, he can use like hundreds of them because Nano is overpowered and helps him assist. Like other than Nano, it's basically a normal Muri manhwa, but just done so well. Though here's one part about it that I really want to understand what the fuck is going on. Why is Bo so... Why does Bo have a fetish to taking people's hands? What the fuck? Because like almost every enemy in the defeats, whether it be a strong enemy or a weak enemy, it takes their hands. Bo literally takes the hands. I'm pretty sure that in Omniscient Reader's viewpoint there's literally a meme about it. Like you can see in one of the things that like a god that likes to take hands watches positively like the main character in OOV, and a lot of people like mention, oh, is this fucking him from Nano Machine? And I'm like, oh shit, yes, what the fuck? It was so funny to see it. And yeah, basically, yeah. Okay, the strongest evolutionary necromancer. It starts with like what you'll think is about to be like another solo leveling copycat, which like the main character got the necromancer ability and wow, or like, and got like transmitted into like a game, and in that game he like supposed to get strong to be able to reach the end. But very quickly, actually, it turns kind of different. It's actually taking its own like unique take on it. It basically, because of how the character he chose is somewhat talented in dark magic, but he has the ability called he had the choice to be able to choose like two abilities to make his life possible in that world, basically, because that character originally was a loser that was supposed to be killed in the first arc. So to be able to survive beyond that, he was given two abilities. Like he was given the option to choose like two abilities, and the two abilities he chose were double core, which allows him to be both a mage and a sword user, an aura user, and evolutionary trait, which allows him to basically be able to be able to go for evolution with his other traits, which or abilities, for example, necromancy. At first, he can't use his necromancy for almost shit. He can only use it on like very weak skeletons, but eventually you see him use that on literally like an aura user, which teaches him how to be an aura master himself. It's very good. It's very well made. Honestly, probably 8 out of 10. It's a manga, by the way. It's not actually a manhwa or manhwa. It's a manga, and it's a really well done necromancer manga. It's probably one of the best necromancer. No, what? It deserves an S. It deserves the S. I gave it an 8 out of 10, but I will still give it an S. It's genuinely a lot of fun. It's really good. Read it. One of the first easy F class, F tier I can give. Basically, when bro is asleep, he's super strong. When bro is awake, he thinks he's weak as fuck. This is the most TLDR I can give about it, and it's boring as fuck. I read like 10 chapters, was bored out of my mind, and gave it up. Another is the S, the novel's extra remake. Basically, dude gets transmitted into his very main novel. In that novel, it gets transmitted as like as a side character that is like not important to the story at all. But you see him, but the whole idea of like him being in that novel it got transmitted into is that basically the person that transmitted him into that novel is one of the people who read his original novel and got very mad with the way the story was written because he felt like the story was too easy for the main protagonists. Like the protagonist never had any real challenge, so basically it got transmitted into this novel for the sake of rewriting it into making it harder, and very randomly you see things that are like different from the original novel. For example, the first villain we actually meet. Originally, the protagonist of that novel was supposed to be able to kill him or to like defeat him in 2 seconds with like the female lead, but when they actually fought that person, they got their asses absolutely handed to them. And if the main protag didn't have the ability to create light type bullets, that demonic human probably would have killed all of them. The only reason why they managed to defeat him was due to those bullets that made that demonic human slightly weaker for a bit, which gave the main protagonist the time to actually load his skill to kill that demonic human. It's basically another one of those. It got transmitted into the novel. It was writing, but it's actually done really well. A really good one. It's basically what this wanted to be. This is what this wanted to be. The Maiton's youngest son, but done so much better with amazing art, amazing writing. Everything about this is so much fun to read. Some of the other main female leads are also actually interesting. Like unlike the average like manhwa, the female leads are actually interesting characters. The other male leads are also very interesting. There are also slight hints from time to time between the main character and the main protag to being maybe slightly closer than just very good friends, homies as you will say. And yeah. Okay, ORV. I mean, do I really need to say anything about ORV or about Omniscient Reader's viewpoint? I mean, come on, man. At this point, I don't think there's anyone who don't know, but sure, let me give a very short TLDR. For the longest time, our main protagonist was reading a novel that was going on for a really long while. He was basically the sole reader of that novel, and one day, on the day that the novel ended, he was reading the last chapter on the train next to one of his work colleagues, and in that train, while reading that last chapter, he all of a sudden gets an email. And that email says that they are about that thank you very much for reading our novel. Thanks to you reading it constantly, I always felt like I can keep on moving forward with writing this. And my novel actually won a prize, and the novel is basically going to become reality, and here I have a copy. So basically, all of the things that happen in the novel eventually becomes his reality, and in that reality, while him being the only person who has the novel, he can actually keep on reading it to basically be able to take advantage of certain things and get stronger. Though, of course, with his luck, the train cabin was at was right next to the train cabin of the main protagonist of that novel, and in his train cabin was one of the other people who were in the party of the main protagonist, but he was the psycho. So basically, we see him get stronger in time, we see him writing his own part of the story, we see him deal with emotions that are so fucking real that that sometimes you can't help but shed tears. Every single part of this manhwa, beside one arc, were like easy 9 out of 10. That one arc ruined it a little bit for me, but it's still so good. The power system in this manhwa might be the best power system I've ever seen in any manhwa, manga, manhwa, whatever. It's the best one ever. Like, it does stats at first. At first, I think it's just going to be like the power system is going to just be stats. But very quickly, you actually learn, nope, there's actually way beyond that. There's different ways to get something called fables, which also strengthen you. You can actually meet constellations, which can also give you stronger abilities. And our main protagonist actually never gets a constellation. He never gets a constellation for the sake of trying to prove that you can become very strong without getting constellation. Basically, immaculate story, immaculate power system mechanic. Just fucking give it a go. It's so fucking good. Give it a go. Let's go. Give it a go. Okay, overpowered sword. Protag was basically a person who always trained very hard trying to become stronger, but he was untalented. On the other hand, one of his friends in the same academy is from didn't train as much, but was very talented and was originally a prince or something like that, while our main protag was a commoner. And there was a prophecy that a person named Leon, which both our main protag and his friend are named Leon, is going to be chosen on a certain name on a certain day and date by the previous hero of another generation that was way in the past, to be chosen basically by him and the sword that he used to use. And oopsie daisy, an accident happened. Instead of that sword choosing the main protagonist's friend, it actually chooses the main protagonist. And because the main protag was used to being a very hard training person, the sword and the hero of the past actually starts feeling more for the main protag and actually starts teaching him, making him stronger, and eventually we see him go through a lot of obviously tribulations and all of the stuff, a lot of fights, and eventually the goal is to defeat someone. I don't actually fully remember what it is, but it's a very solid manhwa. Overpowered is very solid. It's like either top of B or bottom of A. What do you think, Wireless? Bottom of A or top of B? Top of B. I think bottom of A. I think bottom of A deserves. I think it deserves bottom of A. Okay, Peerless Martial Spirit. Basically, bro was the weakest in his clan. His clan was also not really too strong of a clan. It was known to be a very weak, basically the weakest sibling in that clan. I think it was the youngest as well. But actually, no, completely wrong. Actually, it was known to be the most talented, but because of him trying to create his own ability, he actually failed doing that and ended up ruining his Manhwas. It's another martial arts manhwa if it wasn't clear. Destroying his Manhwas, making him the most talentless person in his clan, and it was very sad. And it was he basically lived a very sad life afterwards, from being the most talented to being basically nobody. But here is something that people don't know. On that day, when he was supposed to, basically in this world, when you reach the age of 12, you get something called a martial spirit. For some, it's just a sword. For some, it's an actual intricate martial spirit. And our main protag on that day, at the age of 12, which it could have been the thing that saved him, and like it can also completely fix all of your problems with your midrange and everything. All that happened, from what people could see, it's him getting basically getting struck by a red lightning. And getting front. I don't remember exactly what he got, but it looked it looked like the lowest rank martial spirit. But what in reality it was actually a martial spirit that can improve itself. The more it took martial cultivation pills, instead of getting stronger by himself, instead of his cultivation level getting higher, his martial spirit basically absorbed it instead, which at first made him very annoyed, because that meant from what he knew at least, he can't get stronger, because he didn't understand that his martial spirit was the thing eating it. But all of a sudden, in one of those days, he actually ate enough of those pills that made his martial spirit level up. And after that first level up, he realized, I have a martial spirit that can level up. And if I remember correctly, at first he literally steals a lot of pills to try and get his martial spirit to level up again, to get stronger, to get even stronger. Because in this world, to get stronger, you need a strong martial spirit that helps you cultivate. So he uses that to basically get stronger. At first he's still very weak, but very quickly, with his martial spirits leveling up to level 5, if I remember correctly, it becomes very powerful in his clan, not really in general, but in his clan, which helps him basically be able to take part of an exam to be able to get into a sect, from an higher realm. And in that sect, eventually he gets into the sect. In that sect, he gets to eat more of those pills. Eventually, basically, slowly but surely gets stronger. He actually learns more about his martial spirit and how it's related to a way higher realm. And all of the fights. I actually dropped it in like chapter 600, but until that chapter it was very good. I kind of dropped it because the artist team, it seems like they switched to a way weaker artist team and the art became very weak, but it started the first like 500 chapters of this. I'm not really good at explaining it, but it's really good. You'll really enjoy it if you like martial arts manhwas. It's really good, it's really fun. Again, in my opinion, slightly better than Martial Pick. But yeah. Rebirth of the Ultimate Master. Honestly, can't say a lot about it. I had like 30-40 chapters. It seems very much like your average martial arts manhwa, basically. Used to be an emperor, got betrayed and killed. Reborn as a person from a very weak clan. And now he needs to basically rebuild everything he used to have, and now he's actually going to take his time to actually rebuild his foundation properly, unlike what happened in his previous life. and slowly but surely get very strong and yada yada yada. I didn't, it's very average manhwa, it's like B, it's like bottom of B. Anyways, that's actually the end of this video. To sum it all up, the best manhwas I can advise to people to read from this video is The Guest Instruction Manual, Nano Machine, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, The Novels Extra, and if you want a very fun guilty pleasure, Jack Be Invincible, and if you like anti-hero sort of manhwas, The Devil's Butler is your choice. Other than that, S-Class, my S-Class Hunters, I obtained a mythic item, and all of the other manhwas I recommended for this video are all very solid. Hope that you enjoyed this video. I know I yapped a lot, but have a great rest of your day, and bye bye YouTube, bye bye.